Hari Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviran Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we continue with the description of the 64 angas of Bhakti or Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, the 64 main activities in devotional service. So until now we were describing the difference between material and spiritual rasa. We gave a definition of devotional service and pure devotional service. We discussed the 6 characteristics of devotional service. And then we went through the definitions of sadhana bhakti and also Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti, the 2 subdivisions of sadhana bhakti. And then we read all the 64 angas or activities of devotional service, and gradually we started discussing them. We said that from these 64 activities of devotional service, the first 3 are the most important. And these 3 were accepting shelter at the lotus feet of bona fide spiritual master, taking initiation from the spiritual master, and rendering service with proper mood, with proper attitude. That's the beginning of our devotional life. So today we will continue with 10th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, which is called Techniques of Hearing and Techniques of Hearing and Remembering. Okay, hearing. The beginning of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is hearing, in Sanskrit called Shravanam. All people should be given the chance to come and join devotional parties so that they may hear. This hearing is very important for progressing in Krishna consciousness. When one links his ears to give oral reception to the transcendental vibrations, he can quickly become purified and cleansed in the heart. Lord Chaitanya has affirmed that this hearing is very important. It cleanses the heart of the conditioned soul so that he becomes quickly qualified to enter into devotional service and understand Krishna consciousness. There are some examples after that for the importance of hearing and the powerful influence of hearing Krishna Katha. But just to mention again, Srila Prabhupada is saying the beginning of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is hearing. This hearing is very important for progressing in Krishna consciousness. So basically this is the beginning of our spiritual life. If we think a little bit how we join Krishna consciousness movement, if we think a little bit how we joined, each one of us, we will see somehow or other it was connected with hearing. Either we heard from the books of Srila Prabhupada directly, or we heard from devotees, or we heard kirtan. Something was connected with hearing the transcendental vibration, the spiritual vibration. So, to hear regularly in our devotional life is very, very important. Srila Prabhupada said to his disciples, I don't have any complaints from you. I have only one complaint. What is this complaint? Well, you don't read my books regularly. So it's connected with hearing. If we hear regularly enough Krishna Katha, the benefit from this will be that we will be very enthusiastic in our spiritual life. Hearing transcendental sound is directly connected with getting enthusiasm in our spiritual life. And opposite, if we don't have enough hearing, enough chanting in our spiritual life, this would mean that gradually our enthusiasm will go down. We may continue doing the activities of devotional service, like for example, we gave a vow to chant every day 16 rounds, follow the four evolutive principles, and we may continue doing these things, but without enough hearing and chanting, we won't do it with much enthusiasm. So enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness and hearing, it's very much connected. So now Srila Prabhupada is giving an example. In the Garuda Purana, the stress on hearing is expressed very nicely. It is said there, the state of conditioned life in the material world is just like that of a man lying unconscious, having been bitten by a snake. This is because both such unconscious states can be ended by the sound of mantra. When a man is snake bitten, he does not die immediately, but first becomes unconscious and remains in a comatose condition. Anyone who is in the material world is also sleeping, as he is ignorant of his actual self or his actual duty and his relationship with God. So, materialistic life means that one is bitten by the snake of Maya, illusion, and thus, without any Krishna consciousness, is almost dead. Now, the so-called dead man bitten by a snake can be brought back to life by the chanting of some mantra. There are expert chanters of these mantras who can perform this feat. Similarly, one can be brought back into Krishna consciousness from the deadly unconscious state of material life by hearing of the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's a nice quote. Basically, the only way to get out from our unconscious state is hearing transcendental sound, hearing Hare Krishna, hearing the scriptures, hearing the wise words of sadhu, spiritual master, the other devotees. This is the only way to wake up from our material unconscious illusion.
Sri Jiva Goswami writes, he comments on this, the profuse rivers of pastimes of Krishna transformed into words and emanating from the devotees' mouths in the assembly of devotees flow everywhere. So transformed into sound of words or words. Okay, so the pastimes directly transformed into words. That's how Jiva Goswami explains it. The sentence suggests that the pastimes have spontaneously turned themselves into words with their proper meanings. And they take shelter in the heart of the pure devotee and emanate from them.
Yes. So we'll go now on page 90, the second paragraph. We will skip one paragraph. Otherwise, we are still on the same anga, hearing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process of hearing as a means of self-realization in the present age of Kali. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulative principles and studies of the Vedas, which were formerly recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibrated by great devotees and acharyas, that alone will give him relief from all material contamination. Therefore, it is the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one should simply hear from authorities who are actually devotees of the Lord. Hearing from professional men will not help. If we hear from those who are actually self-realized, then the nectarian rivers, like those which are flowing on the moon planet, will flow into our ears. This is the metaphor used in the above verse. So basically, we should be able to discriminate between hearing from genuine devotees and hearing from, as Srila Prabhupada calls them, professional reciters. Because they may know very well Shastra in terms of learning many verses by heart, quoting them, relating the pastimes of Krishna in a very charismatic way, but the purity won't be there. The purity of sound won't be there. The only thing we will hear is material sound, not spiritual. So we should be discriminative and careful from which we are hearing the Krishna Katha. It's important point. Srila Prabhupada is repeating again and again and again. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, a materialistic person can give up his material hankerings only by becoming situated in Krishna consciousness. Unless one finds a superior engagement, he will not be able to give up his inferior engagement. In the material world, everyone is engaged in the illusory activities of the inferior energy. But when one is given the opportunity to relish the activities of the superior energy performed by Krishna, then he forgets all his lesser pleasures. When Krishna speaks on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to the materialistic person, it appears that this is simply talk between two friends, but actually it is a river of nectar flowing down from the mouth of Sri Krishna. Arjuna gave oral reception to such vibrations, and thus he became freed from all the illusions of the material problems. Srila Prabhupada, often he was explaining in his lectures that first time when he went to listen from his guru, and then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur commented after that when he heard about this boy, Abai, he commented, I noticed that he likes to hear. He just likes to sit down and hear. And also Srila Prabhupada was explaining that even if a disciple doesn't understand really what the Acharya is explaining, what the spiritual master is explaining, still by sitting and listening the transcendental vibration will become purified. Of course, if we understand, it's even better, because then we will get more benefit out of it. So Damodar Maharaj in his book Waves of Devotion explains that there are three ways to hear: Namashravana, hearing the name; Charita Shravana, to hear about the pastimes of Krishna; and Gunadi Shravana, to hear about the qualities of Krishna. So we have three quotes here in this section, and they are describing these three ways of hearing. They are proofs for these three ways of hearing. Do you have some questions, dear devotees, in regards to hearing? If not, then we'll go to the next tanga, expecting the Lord's mercy. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 8, it is said, My dear Lord, Any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, and who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim. This statement of Srimad-Bhagavatam should be the guide of all devotees. Very important sentence. This statement of Srimad-Bhagavatam should be the guide of all devotees. A devotee should not expect immediate relief from the reactions of his past misdeeds. No condition soul is free from such reactionary experiences, because material existence means continued suffering or enjoying of past activities. If one has finished his material activities, then there is no more birth. This is possible only when one begins Krishna conscious activities, because such activities do not produce reaction. Therefore, as soon as one becomes perfect in Krishna consciousness, he is not going to take birth again in this material world. A devotee who is not perfectly freed from the resultant actions should therefore continue to act in Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be so many impediments. When such impediments arise, he should simply think of Krishna and expect his mercy. So when impediments come in our Krishna conscious life, we should simply think of Krishna and expect his mercy to come upon us. That is the only solace. If the devotee passes his days in that spirit, it is certain that he is going to be promoted to the abode of the Lord. By such activities, he earns his claim to enter into the kingdom of God. The exact word used in this verse is Daya Bhak. Daya Bhak refers to a son's becoming the lawful inheritor of the property of his father. In a similar way, a pure devotee who is prepared to undergo all kinds of tribulations in executing Krishna conscious duties becomes lawfully qualified to enter into the transcendental abode. This is very famous verse from 10th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Tatte nukampam shushamikshmana Bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hrid vagbapur vir vidadana namaste Jiveta Mukti Padaya Sadayabhak. As Srila Prabhupada is saying, this statement of Srimad Bhagavatam should be the guide of all devotees. Guide how we have to go through our material existence in a Krishna conscious way. So basically, when there are difficulties in our life, material or spiritual, we should not make revolutions. Rather, we should humbly accept the situation and continue with our body, with our mind, and with our words to serve Krishna. And if the devotee has this attitude, he thinks, yes, I am worthy to go through this suffering because I am the cause of this suffering. And still, I won't give up the opportunity to serve Krishna, although I am in a difficult situation. This kind of attitude buys the devotee the opportunity to go to the spiritual world. I remember many years ago, when I was basically first or second time in Mayapur to study there, Bhakti Shastri. And at that time, the director of Mayapur Institute, at that time it was called MIHET, Mayapur Institute for Higher Education and Training. Now it's just MI, simple. But anyway, Janmashtami Prabhu, that was the director. He, one time, he gave me some mercy. He spoke with me and he said, do you know what is the main problem why so many devotees are leaving ISKCON? I said, no, I have no idea. He said, okay, let me share something with you. And he said, during the Prabhupada Centennium, 1996, some senior experienced devotees, they started a campaign they wanted to try to go and speak with each and every devotee they know that was a serious devotee within ISKCON, but for some or the other reason left, and to try to convince him to come back in the family of Srila Prabhupada. And one of the main devotees who was in charge with this thing was Vyasaki Prabhu. So Vyasaki Prabhu, he spoke with many, many devotees, and then one day when we had opportunity to talk, he shared what's his conclusion after speaking with so many devotees. He said, what is the main reason that devotees leave ISKCON? He said, they have unrealistic expectation. What is that? Well, they think when I come to Krishna consciousness, Krishna is obliged to make my life very easy and to remove all the problems and all the sufferings from my life. And when this did not happen in their life, they just left at some point, sooner or later. Majority of the devotees, this is what they share. They share that. How it is that I'm in Krishna consciousness and still I have so many sufferings in my life. No. That means process is not working. Krishna is not there or something like that. So then Janmashtami Prabhu, he quoted this verse to me and he told me, this is the attitude that we should have. We should not expect that immediately our life will become like paradise. No. There will be some difficulties, there will be some turbulences in our life, but still if we keep this mood that we are determined that we continue serving Krishna despite all obstacles, then gradually things will become better and better and better, and we will get our right to go back to the spiritual world. So a very important verse and also a very important part of Nectar of Devotion. Make a note on this. This is a guide of all devotees. What should be our mood in Krishna consciousness?
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, commenting on this section, he says, a secondary unsought result of bhakti is happiness. Secondary and unsought result. The result of apparatus are suffering. So experiencing both of these results from his bhakti, Atma Kritam Vipakam, the devotee sees this, Susamikshamana, clearly and accurately, as your mercy. He knows that the happiness and distress that he is experiencing stems from the Lord's mercy alone. It is just like a father who sometimes makes his son drink milk and sometimes bitter juice made from nimble leaves. So the devotee thinks, I do not know, but the Lord, like a father, knows what is good and bad for me. And thus sometimes he embraces and kisses me and sometimes slaps me. I, his devotee, have no power at all over karma and time. He alone, by his mercy, makes me experience happiness and distress and makes me serve him. So that's what the devotee should think. The devotee considers his situation in this way, in the manner of King Prithu. And now there is a quotation from 4th canto. King Prithu prays, my Lord, due to your illusory energy, all living beings in this material world have forgotten their real constitutional position, and out of ignorance they are always desirous of material happiness in the form of society, friendship, and love. Therefore, please do not ask me to take some material benefits from you. But as a father, not waiting for the son's demand, does everything for the benefit of the son, please bestow upon me whatever you think is best for me. This is Srimad-Bhagavatam 4:20-31. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur continues, revealing himself daily to the Lord, offering respects with mind, words, and body, passing his life while not being unduly tormented. The devotee becomes the rightful claimant of mukti, liberation. This is the secondary effect, and pada, or service. This is the primary effect, at the Lord's lotus feet. As remaining alive is the cause of a good son receiving his inheritance, so the devotee remaining alive in this world with steadiness on the path of bhakti is the cause of his receiving freedom from samsara and service to the Lord. So to remain alive in Krishna consciousness means just to continue the service. without falling down. And then this is enough to attain mukti pada. Mukti means the secondary effect, liberation, and pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. That means devotional service in the spiritual world.
Haribo. There is a chance for us. Damodar Swami, in his book Waves of Devotion, which is a comprehensive study on Nectar of Devotion, says that devotional service is so practical that it can transform our suffering into an opportunity to perform sadhana bhakti. It only requires the right attitude. So even our suffering can become part of the process of sadhana bhakti if we have proper attitude, because it will become a stimulus to serve Krishna. Okay, Krishna, I'm put in this situation, still let me serve you with the best of my capacity. So dear devotees, if you have questions, just ask, yes. Then next anga from this chapter is remembrance. Some way or other, if someone establishes his mind, his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. About this remembrance, there is a nice statement in the Vishnu Purana, where it is said, simply by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities become eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. Therefore, let me always remember the Lord who is unborn and eternal. In the Padma Purana, the same remembrance is explained as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, because if someone remembers him, either at the time of death or during his span of life, he becomes freed from all sinful reactions. So, in regards to remembrance, during the Bhakti program, we were studying that the golden rule of Bhakti is, who can say, we should always do what?
Always remember Krishna.
We should always remember Krishna.
Always
we
seek
should,
prasadam.
Never forget him.
yes. And all other rules and regulations, they are?
Servants of these two principles.
They are servants of these two principles, correct. Yes. So we see that remembrance is very, very much connected with the essence of our practice in Krishna consciousness. Now the next anga is meditation. Well, remembrance and meditation is the same thing, basically. Just the meditation is a deeper remembrance, longer remembrance. Like, for example, now I can remember someone just for a second or two and then forget him and start thinking about something else. Whereas meditation applies that our remembrance is for a longer period of time. That's the difference. So there are 4 kinds of meditation. Rupa Dhyayanam, meditation on Krishna's form. Guna Dhyayanam, meditation on Krishna's qualities. Krida Dhyayanam, meditation on Krishna's activities. And Seva Dhyayanam, meditation on devotional service to Krishna. So now, Srila Prabhupada will quote nice example. But before going to the example, let's just read what he's saying in the beginning. To meditate means to engage the mind in thinking of the form of the Lord, qualities of the Lord, the activities of the Lord, and the service of the Lord. So these are the 4 kinds of meditation that we spoke about. Meditation does not mean anything impersonal or void. According to Vedic literature, meditation is always on the form of Vishnu. In the Narasimha Purana, there is a statement about meditation on the form of the Lord. It is said there, meditation focusing on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been accepted as transcendental and beyond the experience of the material pain and pleasure. By such meditation, even one who is grossly miscreant can be delivered from the sinful reactions of his life.
So it is beyond. What does it say? It's beyond.
Beyond the experience of the material pain and pleasure.
Okay. Yeah, it's so absorbing that maybe you also have this experience, even if we have some feeling some discomfort, or even we are in pain sometimes, or we have some very persistent thought in our mind that keeps us in anxiety. When we engage in kirtan, for example, or listening Krishna Katha, at least for the period while our mind is absorbed in this activity, then we'll notice that we actually do not experience this pain or this anxiety or whatever it is that occupies our mind, our consciousness, material thing, I mean, a material problem we have. Our problem is that we are not able to go into such meditation for a very long time. And then the material consciousness surfaces sooner or later back. And then we again focus on our false ego. But in due course of time, we will be able to dive deeply and deeply in the ocean of transcendental rasa. And then we'll surface back on this material consciousness more rarely. So our life will become actually the spiritual life. We will live spiritual life. Right now we are living the material life, and from time to time we are engaging in spiritual activities. So this is my mainstream life. That's my main, this is me, my material personality. And from time to time, I have spiritual aspect of my personality, and I engage in spiritual activity. But in the course of time, it will become opposite.
So now we perceive more ourselves as material,
yes,
in connection to material things.
Yeah, now our identity is, I'm such and such person, this is
The
my
owner
job.
of this house, the
Yeah,
owner of this car.
husband of this wife, Prabhupada gives this, the father of these children. And I have also the spiritual aspect of my life. I'm a devotee. But then in due course of time, it will be the other way around. So then it will be, I am, just like Ramana Maharaj was explaining recently, that he prefers to live, to be present in the Chaitanya Charitamrita's realm. He said, this is my place. This is where I want to spend my time. Not in the material plane. I prefer to be part of this lila and to experience this spiritual connection, affection, love with all these wonderful devotees and Krishna. So at one point it will be, when we read Srila Prabhupada's books, we'll be thinking, oh, this is again, I'm going through this pastime, because we read Chaitanya Charitamrita all over and over again in Bhagavatam. So we have our favorite moments there. So when we reach these moments, these pastimes, we will be thinking, oh, again, I'm here. This is one of my favorite times. So when the time will come when I will have to read again this pastime, and then the material life will become secondary. More and more it will become unreal and not important. Right now, this is the main life, and anyway, this is meditation. To dive deeply.
So this is very much related with the hearing, because if we have enough hearing during our day and a good quality of hearing, naturally we will remember Krishna. And the more we remember Krishna, gradually this remembrance will become meditation. Of course, different devotees, they are inspired from different things, some from kirtan, some from taking prasadam, like our Bhakta Jimmy, some from, some they like to read very much. But one way or the other, the more we have hearing, the easier it will become to remember Krishna and to meditate on Krishna. So anyway, now we have a nice story, nice example, how one can meditate on Krishna. Nice stories described in Nectar of Devotion, and how the meditation of Krishna does not depend on an external situation. It's not that, okay, wait a minute, now we have to make lots of money, and only when we have lots of money, then we can meditate on Krishna, or this condition or that condition. No, meditation on Krishna does not depend on any material circumstances. If you remember it in 5th chapter of Nectar of Devotion, we are discussing this, the purity of devotional service. Devotional service is so pure, it does not depend on any material situation. In any material circumstances, you can render devotional service. You can be poor, you can be rich, you can be a man, you can be a woman, you can be a child, you can be an animal. No matter what kind of material situation you are, you can render devotional service to Krishna. That's the universal nature of devotional service. So we have the story of a Brahmana from South India. He was living in one city known as Pratishtanapura. And this Brahmana, he was very devoted to Krishna. He wanted to serve Krishna, but he was not sure how to do it exactly. He was a poor person. And then one day when devotees were speaking, he heard that actually the process of devotional service is so powerful that one can do it in his mind, in meditation, and he'll get the same benefit just like if he externally offers all kinds of objects of worship to Krishna. And this Brahmana, he became very enthusiastic. So next day he went to the close river, Godavari. He took bath there and he sat down on the bank of Godavari and started meditating. And in his mind, in his meditation, he was doing all kinds of purificatory processes to prepare himself. Then he was doing all kinds of puja and worship to Krishna. He was in his mind cooking for Krishna and offering amazing foodstuffs for the pleasure of Krishna. So all these things he was doing in his mind, and he was really enjoying this. And at some point he became so elevated that one day when he just in his meditation cooked a sweet rice for Krishna, and he wanted to check if the sweet rice is cold enough to be offered, because generally, especially in these kind of hot places, to offer a cool sweet is much more pleasurable.
Srila Prabhupada says that cold sweet rice is actually more tasty.
Yes. So he was just waiting for the cold rice to be ready to be offered. And he decided with his finger to touch the rice to see if the rice is cool enough. But then when he put his finger in the sweet rice, he suddenly felt a burning sensation. And suddenly his meditation was broken. And for his amazement, he saw that his finger is really burned. Something that he did in his meditation gave a factual physical result. That was amazing for him.
A similar story to Raghunath Das Goswami now, I remember. That he's well known that he was just, he was not eating. He was just drinking every second day little buttermilk. But one day he was suffering from indigestion. So everybody was bewildered. How is it possible? He doesn't eat. What kind of indigestion? He doesn't eat solid food practically. So then the specialists, the Hare Krishna, the great devotees, they examined the situation and they realized that
A doctor came.
Kaviraj.
He checked his pulse.
And he was very elevated Kaviraj. I think he was Ayurvedic doctor who had
Spiritual
very
vision.
elevated knowledge about Raganuga and Ragatmika Bhakti in this case. So his conclusion was that he actually overate with sweet rice, but in his Siddha Deha, there was this pastime, and he was serving the divine couple, and then he he took a lot of those big feasts, and then he took a lot of prasadam. But now he has this indigestion in his so-called material body. So that's what we were talking a little bit before. Once we start living in this world of the spiritual, then our life will change. It won't be this boring material existence anymore. So this is another example.
Yes. So when this happened, Vishnu started smiling in the spiritual world, and all the goddess of fortune, they were thinking, wow, what is that? Why our husband is smiling? And then Vishnu ordered Vishnu Dutas with a Vimana spiritual plane to come and get this Brahman and bring him directly to the spiritual world. So this is the perfection that it can be achieved through meditation. So again, the conclusion is that devotional service is so potent, one can perform it in any condition. Devotional service is so potent, one can perform it in any condition. And Bhakti, maybe you can turn a little bit your phone sideways. No, I meant so that Vraja Mohan is not being seen behind you.
Just turn off the video for a while.
Okay. Yes. Anyway, this is the Vedic culture, so no problem. Okay, so that was 10th chapter, Nectar of Devotion. Do you have some question, dear devotees?
But I think I was spacing out a little too hard when you're talking about the example with the Brahmin and the sweet rice. I think Panavabanrupu, you're talking about a devotee, he overdosed on sweet rice. He overate sweet rice. So I was wondering what that pastime was again, because I don't think I heard it fully. So I was spaced out.
Yeah.
You can hear it later again.
Okay.
But just with two sentences, Raghunath Das Goswami, who was drinking actually, he was not eating, drinking only buttermilk, 1-2 cups every second day, suddenly had indigestion problems. And a Kaviraj came, a doctor came and checked him out, checked his pulse, and said, oh, you have all the symptoms that you overate very heavily with some heavy sweet rice, something like that. And then all the devotees were so surprised, but no, Raghunath Das Goswami, he drinks only buttermilk.
Well, I was just thinking the devotees then, if they were not very advanced, they would have said, just see, exposed. He's exposed. He actually is.
But actually, no, they knew he's a great saint. So they said, he's not eating such kind of things. I mean, how it is possible? And then Raghunath Das Goswami, he
confessed.
He confessed it in front of the other devotees. Yeah, actually, it's true. I overate with sweet rice. But not here in the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. There was a big feast and I overate heavily with sweet rice. So the example was how things which are going on in the spiritual sphere can be seen in our physical body. Like in the case of this Brahman, he was basically serving in his meditation, but there was a physical consequence that he burned his finger from the things that he was doing in his meditation. So it's very interesting how the devotional service has absolute character.
And how, if we are deeply absorbed in Shabda, this will become our reality. We'll live it. We'll become part of this world. Like I gave the example of Kadam Maharaj in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Bhagavatam saying that just by listening Bhagavatam, we will be attracted spontaneously, Prabhupada explains, to a certain portion of Bhagavatam where there is certain rasa. And we will be spontaneously attracted, and this will become an indication of our own relationship with the Lord. But this cannot happen unless we listen carefully. Bhagavatam, all like regularly and as much as as much as possible.
One time, one spiritual master, he was sharing that when we read, we have to read very carefully. Because if we read very carefully, so many interesting moments, so many details are coming from what we are reading.
Mm.
And this will be actually the juice, the food for our happiness in Krishna consciousness. So many amazing things we can find in the books of Srila Prabhupada. But
Yes, Prabhuji.
yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, just to say one more sentences. But if we are not reading carefully, then for us it looks like that we are reading the same old boring thing. Oh yeah, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is again explaining the same thing. We are not this body and we are servants of Krishna.
At the same with the chanting, if we're not carefully chanting the holy name, it will be
Boring.
uncolorful because we don't pay attention. Yeah, about these details in the Krishna's pastimes. For example, the moment when Krishna kidnaps Rukmini, there are these amazing details in the Krishna book. Prabhupada describes how Rukmini was fixing a ring on her left hand, and then exactly in this moment she lifted her eyes and she saw Krishna, although she never saw him before, and Krishna just came and lifted her, and the acharyas explained that she was taking her time to get up on the chariot, like fixing her clothes and being very particular about her appearance. Then Krishna couldn't wait for more. So at one point he just said, okay, that's enough. So he picked her up and put her on a chariot. So all these details are very charming, and they can fix our mind on Krishna's pastimes. Okay, Prabhuji had a question.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji. Sometimes, because of digestness, we might study the verse and then study the translation.
Uh-huh.
We don't go for whole discussion. And later day, we just study the discussion, not the translation and other things. We try to memorize what is the translation. In case we not memorize it, then we just read one more time the translation. So, and even the discussion, what Prabhupada already given all the discussion about one verse, we can sometimes study whole set of this discussion. We just do portion, and then next day we do the portion. So the way we can understand, if I study 3 lines, I try to understand these 3 lines, what is actually it is saying, and try to definitely align with our life. What is my position and how much I, from that 3 lines, I can achieve. So is that breaking portion study, is that make any offense, or it's okay?
No, it doesn't make any offense. No problem. Anyway, at some point we have to break, because we are not pure devotees. We cannot think about Krishna. We cannot study the books 24 hours. So sooner or later there will be breaking of the portion. Of course, if we are studying more, bigger portions, that this will help us to remember Krishna more and to go into meditation more. But this depends on our situation in life. Like, for example, if someone is a brahmachari living in the temple, maybe he can sometimes have the luxury, the opportunity just to sit down and read 3 hours, 4 hours. It's not always possible, but you can, as a brahmachari, you can do that. But let's say as a family person, it's much more difficult to get, let's say, 4 hours from your day just to read. It's very, very difficult, because so many other things should be done. Attention should be given to the family members. There is a job and so many other responsibilities. But the idea is, the more we have opportunity to hear or to read about Krishna, the deeper our meditation will be. So from this perspective, we should try to do as much as possible more. But even if we cannot do more, let's say someone may have the standard that he reads one verse from Bhagavad Gita, let's say in the morning before going to work, and one verse of Bhagavatam after coming from work. Well, that's great. Because that means for 1 year you read half Bhagavad Gita and you read what, maybe at least one canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. And if we're doing this for a few years, we'll develop our connection with Srimad-Bhagavatam, our connection with Bhagavad Gita. It's a personal connection, personal relationship with Krishna. So according to our situation, we should do as much as we can. But the more we can do, the better. That's the principle. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, we try the same way, simultaneously study Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita mostly every day. Bhagavatam, maybe not every day. Sometimes I had to skip this, like Untitled Chapter also beside that, but I had to skip sometimes.
One time, one spiritual master was saying to his disciple, I was there present and I heard, he said, you should not act in such a way that even a day passes without reading at least one verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam. This is my instruction to you. Every day you should read at least one verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam. Now we may say, well, Prabhu, but we don't have time. Well, do we have time to take at least 2 times a day prasadam?
Yes, Prabhuji.
How much time we need to take at least 2 times a day prasadam?
Takes 15 and 15 minutes, half an hour.
So at least half an hour. How much time we need every day to go to the toilet and perform our, take our bath and so on and so on?
It's another half an hour to 1 hour.
Yeah. So if we can find time to do these things every day, why not finding time to read at least one verse from Bhagavatam every day? Just we have to make it important thing in our day.
Prabhuji, it happens when we do the association with devotees, it happens continuously. When association of devotees, we skip it. All things we see slowly by slowly go away. And one day I see I don't have time to even bow down to my house deity.
I agree.
So association makes more like forgetting material, remembering spiritual.
Everything becomes easy with the association of Vaishnavas. Yes.
Yeah, like they are hammering all the time. Senior Vaishnavas, hey, hey. So thank you.
I have also similar experience, like the days when I don't read enough, or I don't go for Harinam, or I don't listen to lectures. Next day, my chanting in the morning is much more difficult and more mechanical. And the days when I have enough association with the devotees, enough hearing in chanting, then next day my chanting of my rounds is much easier. So
sadhu sangha, sarva shastri kai, labhamat sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi kai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's start with 11th chapter. We will take few angas and then we can make a break. So the first anga of 11th chapter is servitorship. So this chapter describes the last and the most advanced of the 9 main processes of devotional service: Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atmanivedanam. This is the object of this 11th chapter. Servitorship. There are 2 aspects of servitorship: Karmarpanam, offering one's activities to the Lord, and Kainkaryam, serving in the mood of personal attendance.
So I just want to mention here, this dasyam, because this is servitorship, this dasya is distinct from the dasya sthai bhava and dasya rasa that appear after sadhana bhakti, though they are related, because this is different dasya. So this is not one of the rasas, okay?
It's one of the activities of
bhakti.
So what exactly means this servitorship? Srila Prabhupada will explain now. In the opinion of the karmis, fruitive workers, offering the results of karma is called servitorship. But according to Vaishnavacharyas like Rupa Goswami, servitorship means constant engagement in some kind of service to the Lord. Okay, so let's speak a little bit about these first two sentences because there is important technical point here. So let's discuss it a little bit. Damodar Maharaj in his book Waves of Devotion describes that Karmarpanam, the first kind, offering one's activities to the Lord, has two subdivisions: to offer the fruits from your work in Varnashrama Dharma, or offer direct service within the 9 main processes of devotional service. So now, some teachers, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, in the opinion of the karmis, fruitive workers, offering the results of karma is called servitorship. So some teachers accept both subdivisions as bona fide forms of servitorship in sadhana bhakti. But our acharyas do not. That's why Srila Prabhupada is saying, but according to Vaishnava acharyas like Rupa Goswami, servitorship means constant engagement in some kind of service to the Lord. So basically, performing some of the 9 direct process of devotional service. This is what we accept as service as Anga Bhakti, Anga of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. In the Skanda Purana, it is said that those who are attached to fruitive activities, the 4 orders of social life and the 4 orders of spiritual life are considered devotees. But when devotees are actually engaged in offering service to the Lord directly, these must be Bhagavatas or pure devotees. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities or prescribed duties according to the 4 orders of social and spiritual life are not actually pure devotees. So if someone is offering the fruits from his work to Krishna, he is a devotee, but according to what Srila Prabhupada is explaining here, he is not a pure devotee. In order for someone to be accepted as a pure devotee, he should engage as a servant by performing some of the 9 direct activities of bhakti. Which are those 9 direct activities? Yeah, Shravan, Vishnu Smaran, Pada Seva, Archana, Vandam, Dasya. Yeah. If someone is engaged in those, he can be accepted as a pure devotee. If someone is just working and giving some money from time to time, he is definitely a devotee, otherwise why he is giving money to Krishna. But if he is a pure devotee, he is not sure. He may be in some rare cases, but generally Srila Prabhupada is saying that that is not enough for someone to be accepted as a pure devotee. He should be substantially engaged in the 9 angas of 9 main activities of devotional service.
Just to mention that prescribed duties, the next verse says, this is 184. Prescribed duties, that means varnashrama, according to one's nature. When they offer to the Lord, they also become Bhagavad Dharma. So, but they are not necessarily Bhagavad Dharma. They are not offered. In the mind, I mean, if one doesn't make the connection. Okay, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, even varnashrama actions offered to the Lord become Bhagavad Dharma. So what to speak then of actions for the Lord, tat karma, such as hearing and chanting. So this is the direct and indirect devotional service. So for the indirect, it has to be offered to the Lord. We have to see the connection. Otherwise, it's just pious activity. But the direct, like hearing and chanting, even if we're not very careful, even if we don't see the connection necessarily right now, it is still direct devotional service.
Yes, this is a little bit technical point. But it's good point, practical point for us just to learn that in our spiritual life, we may start from every level. We may start from every level, but gradually we should be aspiring to come to the level of increasing our direct engagement in devotional service. So the hearing, the chanting, remembering of Krishna, these direct activities, they should increase gradually with the increasing of our years in our life. And then the indirect activities gradually should decrease. That's the idea. Otherwise, as we said, because bhakti is totally transcendental, one can start bhakti from any position. There is no disqualifications, but gradually we should try to go further and further into direct engagement in devotional service. When one has no such desire but acts spontaneously out of love of God, such a person must be accepted as a pure devotee. The conditioned souls who have come into contact with the material world are all more or less desirous of lording over material nature. The system of varnashrama and the prescribed duties under this system are so designed that the conditioned soul may enjoy in the material world according to his desire for sense gratification, and at the same time gradually become elevated to spiritual understanding. Under these prescribed duties of Varna and Ashrama, there are many activities which belong to devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those devotees who are householders accept Vedic rituals performances as well as the prescribed duties of devotional service, because both are meant for satisfying Krishna. When householder devotees perform some Vedic ritualistic duties, they do so to satisfy Krishna. As we have previously discussed, any activity aiming at satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead is considered devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami describes one who is fit for becoming engaged in devotional service. He says that persons who are neophytes and who have developed a little love of Godhead are not interested in the activities of sense gratification in proportion to their devotion. But if there is still some attraction for sense gratifying activities, then the result of such activities should be offered to Krishna. This is also called engagement in the service of the Lord, with the Lord as the master and the worker as the servant. So basically, this means that, let's say, if someone is living as a brahmachari or vanaprastha or sannyasi, because he does not have many social material duties, he can be predominantly almost 100% engaged in just direct activities for Krishna. Like someone can be in the temple and he's doing some of the 9 direct processes. He's chanting, or he's hearing about Krishna, or he's remembering Krishna, or he's cleaning the temple of Krishna, or he's cooking for Krishna. Everything is direct. But Srila Prabhupada is saying that if someone is a householder, then he has 2 sets of activities. One set of activities are the direct activities, the direct devotional activities, 9 main activities of bhakti. But then apart from this, he has other activities that he has to perform. Let's say go to work, make money, let's say buy a car, buy a house. He may have a garden in the house. He has to take care for the garden and so many other engagements. So these, they may not be directly connected with Krishna, but a householder should learn how in his mind to connect all these activities with Krishna. Then his life becomes perfect. So again, the idea is that somehow or other, in whatever situation we are, we should try to connect this situation with Krishna. And there our life is perfect. And then, as we said, gradually we should move towards more direct activities with the time and less indirect activities.
I have a question.
Yes.
if we do the ritualistic activities based on the Vedas, and if one person, I know there is a lot of fruitive result coming doing the Vedas ritual activities.
Mm-hmm.
So if that person do it just for, okay, I want to be rich, so I should do the Lakshmi Puja.
Mm-hmm.
And then he becomes rich. So that is because there is a karma bandha, right?
Yes.
So after getting this result, he's going to be engaged and he's going to be forget any type of progress. Just he's going to come back again and again to just Lakshmi. He's not going to go to Narayan.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of things happen. But if the same person, he might doing Lakshmi Puja, but whatever he got, then he engages in devotional service, like he doing kirtan. Some rich people in India, Sapana Prahar Kirtan, Sapana Prahar, 56 hours Kirtan and stuff. They're doing it. They're doing other things also, Lakshmi Puja, Saraswati Puja, and they're doing Sapana Prahar, and every year they're doing. So why they don't progress in the pure devotional service? Even they're doing it, but they don't progress.
Well, it depends with what kind of motivation we are doing it.
This Kirtan. Oh, okay.
Like, okay, let me first mention that generally those who are renunciates, they should not do this. For them, it's not needed to do some other pujas, other worship, other things. Because more or less they are free from all these social needs, social customs. Just by living in the temple, just by serving directly Krishna, for all this is taken care of. Now for the householders, yes, they have need to do certain social things, like for example, Shraddha or so on and so on. But the idea is that they should do this with the consciousness that, okay, this is my social obligation, social duty, so let me do it, but still I'm doing it for the pleasure of Krishna. I'm not doing it for some personal benefit. So now outside there are many people, they may look very devoted. Let's say they may make a Lakshmi Puja and get lots of money because of that, and they'll do some kirtan, they'll do some this, some that, but actually they are not doing it because they are devoted to Krishna, but because they are very pious people, because the Lord is giving them something, now they feel in their heart obligation, oh, I have to reciprocate, I have to do something in reciprocation. But they are not doing it just for the pleasure of the Lord. They are doing it because they are intelligent enough that they know this is how the system is working. If I'm pious, if I do this yagyas, then I'll get result. And because I'm getting result, yes, I have to do something for Bhagavan so that he's happy with me, so that he can give me a gain.
So that means surrender is not there. There is no surrendering system.
Correct. That means
okay. He wanna control everything.
Yes, there is surrender, but actually this surrender is it's not selfless surrender. Everything is pre-calculated already. I'm doing it because I know I will get something out of it. And if I am not going to get anything, then why to do it? Why I'm going to do Lakshmi Puja if any money won't come?
Oh, yeah, it's a business with Krishna.
I mean, at the end of the day, Krishna is in the heart of everyone and he knows what's exactly the motivation. But oftentimes this is the case. Someone may externally do all these things, but at the end of the day, he's doing it because he'll get some material benefit out of it. He can get profit, or he can get some respect from others, that he's very elevated person, or he's great devotee, or he's donating a lot to the temple. Many different motivations can be there. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is comparing all this with what is the English word? Weeds?
Yes.
With weeds which are around the Bhakti Lata Bija. All these desires for distinction, profit, adoration, special reputation, all these things. This is not the bhakti lata. Bhakti lata is the desire that we want to do something just because this will give pleasure to Krishna. But then if some other motivations are there, that means there is some weeds around. And these weeds, if we are watering them a lot, they will become bigger than the bhakti lata. Then our motivation gradually will go aloof. Instead to do the things because they will give pleasure to Krishna, we start doing the things. Oh, if I go and give this lecture, this and this, Prabhu, I know he'll give me a good donation. Oh, if I make this lecture, then everybody will hear it after that in YouTube and they'll say, oh, this and this, Prabhu, he is a great devotee, great Vaishnava. They will respect me, they will pay obeisance. So gradually our motivation is going aloof from the main purpose, which is just to give pleasure to Krishna. So we have to
Thank you for this. Yeah, thank you.
We have to be careful. We have to look at ourselves from time to time, and also it's very much helpful to ask the devotees around us from time to time for analysis, because they are seeing us. They know us from not from yesterday. They know us from a long time. And if they see some change in our motivation, in our mood, they can immediately, first detect it and then point it out to us. But we have to be open for feedback.
Criticism, like anybody criticize me, I have to listen it and fix myself.
Yeah, it's even not really a criticism. It's more like a gentle, friendly correction.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
They're well-wishers. They are really wishing our best. So when they see that something wrong is happening in our spiritual life, they really want to help us. But in order to help us, we should be able to open our mind. Otherwise, it will be difficult.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So let's go through one more anga and then we will take our break. Devotional service in friendship. Devotional service in friendship can be divided into two categories. The first is to act as the confidential servant of the Lord, and the other is to act as the well-wisher of the Lord. The devotee who has confidence in devotional service to the Lord systematically follows the rules and regulations with the faith that he will achieve the platform of transcendental life. The second type of devotional friendship is to become a well-wisher of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord accepts a preacher as the most dear servant. Anyone who is preaching the confidential message of the Gita to the people in general is so dear to Krishna that no one can be equal to him in human society. So now I just want to read something about you, interesting. Damodar Swami, in his book Waves of Devotion, is writing. So here Srila Prabhupada is describing two kinds of friendship. These are, first one is called Vishvasa, a superior well-wisher. Vishvasa also means that Krishna will always protect the devotee. He is like always taking care of the devotee. He is really our well-wisher. And the second kind of friendship is Maitri, a friendly relationship with a peer. So it's more close relationship. So now Vishvasa, Damodar Maharaj is writing, Vishvasa means to have strong faith or confidence in the Lord as our benefactor. Srila Prabhupada summarizes the devotee who has confidence in devotional service to the Lord systematically follows all the rules and regulations with the faith that he will achieve the platform of transcendental life. Now the interesting thing is that generally the system is that devotee accepts the Lord as his well-wisher. But now in his comment, Srila Prabhupada is reversing it. He's saying actually the devotee is well-wisher of Krishna by preaching the Krishna conscious message all over the world. So it's giving, Srila Prabhupada is giving very interesting twist to this anga of bhakti. That actually he is saying, well, to be friend of the Lord actually means that not that you depend on him, but rather you do something for his pleasure. You preach the Krishna consciousness.
Something similar to these two concepts, Mamata Buddhi and other one I forgot. But the one is I belong to Krishna, I'm Krishna's servant. And the other one, which is more advanced, is Krishna belongs to me. It's a very intense feeling of possessiveness for the Lord. Krishna is my friend, my master, he's my beloved, my son, my child. It's more, it's stronger. It's very, it's infatuating for the mind. A very strong sense of possessiveness, which is characteristic of the highest sthai bhavas, the higher ones. Yeah, like
Level of
Sakya,
love.
Sakya upward. And the sthai bhava of neutrality doesn't have possessiveness. So it's weaker in this sense. Like you have a relationship with somebody, but it's neutral. You appreciate the person, but he's
Dasya,
not.
Dasya also.
Dasya already has possessiveness because this is my master. Sakya stronger, and Vatsarya and Madhurya is the strongest.
So this is my master, then it becomes this is my friend.
It's stronger. This
is my kid.
Yeah, and then my
this is my lover.
So yeah, it just reminded me.
It's material life is, as we are saying, perverted reflection of this, because we can see also in the relationships of this world, there is this strong feeling of possessiveness, yes? Let's say someone is your kid, and you really think he belongs to you, and you are ready to do everything to control him. This is good for you. This is not good for you. You have to do whatever I say. Or between husband and wife, the wife has a feeling of possessiveness over the husband, so he cannot do whatever he likes whenever he likes. He should say, I'm going to this and this place, I'll come back at that and that time. So there is a feeling of possessiveness also we can see here.
Yeah.
So now we have, in this section, we have two quotes, and they are describing these two kinds of friendship. In Mahabharata, Draupadi says, my dear Govinda, your promise is that your devotee can never be vanquished. I believe in that statement, and therefore, in all kinds of tribulations, I simply remember your promise, and thus I live. The purport is that Draupadi and her 5 husbands, the Pandavas, were put into severe tribulations by their cousin brother Duryodhana, as well as by others. The tribulations were so severe that even Bhishmadev, who was both a lifelong brahmachari and a great warrior, would sometimes shed tears thinking of them. He was always surprised that although the Pandavas were so righteous and Draupadi was practically the goddess of fortune, and although Krishna was their friend, still they had to undergo such severe tribulations. Though their tribulations were not ordinary, Draupadi was not discouraged. She knew that because Krishna was their friend, ultimately they would be safe. So this is the strong Vishwasa, strong faith, that no matter what's happening in life, Krishna will protect us. We have a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita actually that's describing this strong faith. Shraddha Shabde Vishvasa Kahe Sudrida Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Kritahaya. Vishvasa or Shraddha is the strong faith that just by performing Krishna Bhakti, everything else in our life will be automatically taken care. So if we surrender our life to doing Krishna Bhakti, whatever needs we have in life, material or spiritual, everything Krishna will take care of it. We should not We should not have any doubt about it. This is Vishvasa, strong faith that our Krishna is our well-wisher and protector. And then we have a second statement. A similar statement is there in the 11th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, verse 53, where Havis, the son of King Krishaba, addresses Maharaja Nimi. My dear king, a person who never deviates even for a moment from engagement in the service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, engagement which is sought even by the great demigods like Indra, with firm conviction that there is nothing more worshipable or desirable than this, it's called the first-class devotee. Srila Rupa Goswami says that a neophyte devotee who has simply devoted a slight love, Srila Rupa Goswami says that a neophyte devotee who has simply developed a slight love of Godhead is certainly a prospective candidate for devotional service. When he becomes firmly fixed in such devotional service, that assured status becomes a confidential part of his devotional service. Sometimes it is found that a pure devotee lies down in the temple of the Lord in order to serve him as a confidential friend. Such friendly behavior of a devotee may be accepted as raganuga or spontaneous. Although according to regulative principles, no one can lie down in the temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this spontaneous love of Godhead may be grouped under devotional service in friendship. Okay, dear devotees. So something more about this Sangha, friendship, Sakyam.
So Prabhuji, what type of devotee can lie down? Is it like when Uttam Bhakta? Uttam Adhikari Bhakta?
No, the idea is that rules are forbidding this. But sometimes some elevated devotees who are already on the platform of Raganuga Bhakti, we may see sometimes some devotee to do it, but we should not do it. It's a very...
Okay. Happens.
Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that these levels, these practices in the process of devotional service, especially friendship, Sakyam, and Atma Nivedana, full surrender, they are very elevated. Generally, they are not part of the process of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, the sadhana bhakti that we are following on the rules and regulations. This is higher level. It's coming on the practice on the spontaneous platform. Then this complete surrender can come, or these friendly relationships with Krishna, this strong faith that Krishna will always take care of us, will appear gradually. This is the idea.
But as a householder, it feels like we have one room, we have deity in the corner, we don't have no choice. Those are different things.
That's different. Of course, it's good if you have altar and you have deities, maybe you can have some curtains in front of them. And when you are planning, let's say, to sleep in the same room, at least put the curtains and then you can lie down. But generally also I heard from Janivas Prabhu, who is one of the, how to say? Acharya
in Islam, big Acharya.
Yes,
great Acharya.
Deity worship especially. He was, I heard from him and his brother, His Grace Pankajangri Guru, to explain that when we do deity worship at home, it's considered that deities, they are guests. So because they are guests, they are taking in consideration the situation. Sometimes the thing may not be done exactly in the way how worship is done in the temple, but deities, they accept, because okay, this is their standard, this is what they can do, so we accept as much as they can. Like for example, so you may not do your Mangalarti at 4:30 at home. You may do it at 6 o'clock. And
yeah, usually we cannot make it yet.
And deities are saying, no problem, I'm happy that they're worshiping me. Maybe you won't be able to offer 5 times a day food to the deities. Maybe you offer 1 time or 2 times, and they are happy. Now, if worship is in the temple, that's a different thing. Worship in the temple should be strictly according to the rules and regulations, and this should be strictly followed. If not, there is reactions. So that's why at home is a little bit different. That's okay?
Yes, Ruji, thank you. Good. There was a question since morning. I was studying this one. I was thinking like what type of devotee can sleep in the temple and what type is not. So that's a clear. Thank you.
I mean, sometimes even in our temples, we use the temple room for sleeping, but generally it's not done. Generally it's not done, but sometimes we are using it just for the sake of preaching purposes. Let's say we have a big festival and there are so many devotees, they don't have where to sleep. So of course, this is a higher principle. We should be hospitable and give shelter to the devotees. So if there is no other available place for sleeping, of course they'll sleep in the temple room. I remember first time when I went to temple in Bulgaria and I wanted to stay to sleep with the devotees. Actually, devotees, they put me to sleep in the temple room because there was not much space at that time. So early in the morning, 4 o'clock, they woke me up and they said, fast, we have to clean the floor and go and take shower. And that was a big shock first time for me. I mean, to get up.
Yes.
I never got up in my life 4 o'clock. I was going to sleep at 4 o'clock at night, but to get up at 4 o'clock, that was a difficult thing.
Yeah, Krishna is merciful. When Krishna sees devotee's room is full, then Krishna might call, hey, why are you not sleeping right there?
Yes.
I don't need all those space. You just take it. That's good. Raganuga Bhakti, yes. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So let's make 10 minutes break and we'll continue after that. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we are continuing with the descriptions and examples of different angas of bhakti. The next anga is surrendering everything to the Lord. Regarding complete self-surrender, there is a nice description in the 11th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. A person who has completely surrendered unto me and has completely given up all other activities is protected by me personally, both in this life and in the next. In other words, I wish to help him because I wish to help him become more and more advanced in spiritual life. Such a person is to be understood as having already achieved sarshti, having equal opulences with the Supreme. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that as soon as a person surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna, Krishna takes charge of him and gives him a guarantee of protection from all sinful reactions. He also instructs from within, so that the devotee may very quickly make advancement towards spiritual perfection. This self-surrender is called Atma-nivedana. According to different authorities, self is differently defined. Self is sometimes considered to refer to the spirit self or soul, and a self is sometimes considered to refer to the mind or to the body. Full surrender, therefore, means not only surrendering of one's self as spirit soul, but also surrendering one's mind and body to the service of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung a nice song in this connection. While offering himself as a fully surrendered soul, he says, my mind, my household affair, my body, whatever is in my possession, my dear Lord, I offer to you for your service. Now you can do with them as you like. You are the supreme possessor of everything. So, if you like, you can kill me, or if you like, you can give me protection. All authority belongs to you. I have nothing to claim as my own. Manasa geho deho yoki chumor ar pilu tuva pade nanda kishore. Whatever I have, I surrender everything to you. Shri Monachari in his prayer to the Lord has expressed a similar idea in the following words. My dear Lord, I may be living within some body as a human being or as a demigod, but whatever mode of life, I do not mind, because these bodies are simply byproducts of the three modes of material nature, and I, who am in possession of these bodies, am surrendering myself unto you. So I'll just skip one paragraph and I will go directly to the end. Srila Rupa Goswami says that devotional service in friendship and devotional service in self-surrender are two difficult processes. Therefore, if you like, you can stop it. Just press. Press the metal part. Yeah, that's it. If the green light is off, then it's off. That's it. Therefore, such a relationship with the Lord can very rarely be seen. Only for the advanced devotees are these two processes easily executed. The purport is that it is very rare to see surrender, which is mixed with sincere ecstatic devotion. One must give himself completely to the will of the Lord. So as we said a little bit earlier, it is these two processes, especially friendship and full surrender, are very, very difficult to practice. Why? Because that means we should forget about our life, about our desire. We should be completely available for Krishna. Mothers, sometimes they are in such a situation, at least for some amount of time. Because when generally the kids appear, they forget about themselves. They don't have time for anything. Even sometimes they don't have time to eat. They just sit between the different things they do for the kids. So whatever kid needs should be done. Full surrender, total surrender. Do you have some question here, dear devotees? The next anga is offering a favorable article. In 11th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, 11th chapter, verse 41, Lord Krishna tells Uddhava, my dear friend, if someone offers me the best thing in his possession, or anything which is very pleasing to him, he will be eternally benefited. So this anga of bhakti means that it can be taken in two ways. One way is that we offer to Krishna things that he likes. Like, for example, Krishna likes to be worshipped in a certain way. Krishna likes to eat a certain kind of foods. For example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appeared in Bengal. So he liked the Bengali kitchen. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, in so many places, we read how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorifying Shak, and he was enjoying this very refined rice, on the top of which there was put so much ghee that the ghee was coming out of the sides of the rice. And yeah, all these different Bengali sweets. So this is one way to practice this anga of bhakti. We can just learn what Krishna likes and do this. We can make burfi for Krishna, we can make sandesh for Krishna, and so on and so on. Other way to take this and to practice this anga of bhakti is that we offer to Krishna the things that we like the most. Something is very, very dear to us, and because it's very dear to us, that's why we make it for Krishna, with the idea that I want to do the best thing that I know, the best thing that I have, to give it for Krishna. Like, for example, when someone is very big fan of pizza or ice cream, well, he can offer this to Krishna. And the sentiment counts because you try to give what is the best that you have for Krishna. So Krishna appreciates this. Performing all endeavors for Krishna. In the Narada Pancharatra, there is a statement of how one can act in all spheres of life for the satisfaction of the Lord. It is stated there that a person who is actually in devotional service must be engaged in all kinds of activities, those prescribed in the revealed scriptures and also those which are accepted for livelihood. In other words, not only should a devotee engage himself in the prescribed duties of devotional service, which are mentioned in the revealed scriptures, but he should also perform the duties of his practical life in Krishna consciousness. For example, a devotee who has a great establishment or factory may offer the fruits of such a material possession for the service of the Lord. So all endeavors should be for the pleasure of Krishna, not some endeavors. Everything that we need to do in our life, we should find a way to connect it with Krishna. This is called full Krishna consciousness. Damodar Maharaj is mentioning, everyone can easily perform this aspect of sadhana bhakti, even those who are entangled in worldly responsibilities. Why? Because whatever we have, we should give it for the pleasure of Krishna. As Srila Prabhupada is saying, someone can be a big businessman and has a great establishment or a factory. He should offer the fruits of his work for the service of the Lord. I remember we had one devotee. He and his family, they had a family business. They were producing alcohol-free drinks, and they were producing them and distributing them in quite a big area. So always when he was coming to the temple, he was bringing like few boxes of those alcohol-free drinks. So devotees generally, they don't, I mean, they can drink, but they are not such a big fans that they cannot live without it. But always when he was drinking, and then they were saying, okay, Krishna's arrangement, let's do it. And they were drinking all these drinks. Being a surrender soul. This anga of bhakti is very, very similar to the Atmanivedanam, or surrendering everything to the Lord. Is basically the same thing, just Damodar Maharaj is he's explaining that Atmanivedanam means full surrender to your soul, to your body, to your mind, but it may not include the special mood of self-dedication. It may not have the feeling of subservience and dependence, whereas being a surrender soul has particularly this kind of mood. You feel yourself very much subservient and dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And the last anga from this chapter is serving trees such as Tulsi. In the Skanda Purana, there is a statement praising the Tulasi tree as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Tulasi tree, which can immediately vanquish volumes of sinful activities. Simply by seeing or touching this tree, one can become relieved from all distresses and diseases. All distresses and all diseases also. Simply by offering obeisances. Simply by offering obeisances to and pouring water on the Tulsi tree, one can become free from the fear of being sent to the court of Yamaraj, the king of death, who punishes the sinful. If someone sows a tulsi tree somewhere, certainly he becomes devoted to Lord Krishna. And when the tulasi leaves are offered in devotion on the lotus feet of Krishna, there is the full development of love of Godhead. In India, all Hindus, even those not belonging to the Vaishnava group, take special care of tulsi tree. Even in great cities where it is very difficult to keep a tulsi tree, people are to be found very carefully keeping this plant. They water it and offer obeisances to it because worship of tulsi tree is very important in devotional service. In the Skanda Purana, there is another statement about tulsi as follows. Tulsi is auspicious in all respects, simply by seeing, simply by touching, simply by remembering, simply by praying to, simply by bowing before, simply by hearing about, or simply by sowing this tree, there is always auspiciousness. Anyone who comes in touch with the tulsi tree in the above mentioned ways lives eternally in the Vaikuntha world. So worship of Tulasi is very, very important for our advancement in spiritual life. Tulsi Devi is a very powerful personality. She is one of the eternal associates of Krishna from the spiritual world. She is, we could say, the main manager in the spiritual world. So all the pastimes between Radha and Krishna, they are managed by Tulasi Devi. She's making all the arrangements needed. It is said that Tulsi has many godowns full with all kinds of paraphernalia which is used for the different pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And in the spiritual world, every 20 minutes or so, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna are changing. And new arrangement should be done every 20 minutes. And this is the job of Tulasi Devi. She's making all the necessary arrangements so that the pastime between Radha and Krishna are very easily accomplished. She's also, in order to make this big management, she's using lots of birds, yes, as a messengers. He said that she has 100,000 birds which are helping her to send all these messages in different directions. What should be done? It is said that worshipping Tulasi is one of the short paths to make spiritual advancement. We were mentioning already this, but I think no harm to repeat it again. If we worship Tulasi, if we worship the spiritual master and following his orders, if we follow Ekadashi, these tools are very powerful tools for making very fast spiritual advancement. So this is chapter 11. Do you have some questions, dear devotees? Okay, if not, then we can go to chapter 12. Chapter 12, this chapter describes the final 11 items of sadhana bhakti. And now, when we read this chapter, we'll see that we'll go through the 5 most potent angas or activities of bhakti. And then they will be repeated. These 5, they will appear twice. That's why we say that they are the most important. Srila Rupa Goswami repeated them twice just to show that these 5 are the most powerful and most potent angas of bhakti. So which are these 5? Do you know them? You don't know the 5 most potent angas of bhakti. Ooh. Let's see now.
I studied it, forget. The 5 out of 9 until Shakka.
No. These are different classifications. One classification is the 9 direct processes for performing bhakti. That's one thing. Now we have another classification here in Nectar of Devotion. The 5 most potent out of those 64. We said the 3 are really the preliminaries so that you can start the process of devotional service, accepting Guru, taking shelter of the Guru, taking initiation from the Guru. But apart from this, Rupa Goswami is saying there are 5 out of those 64 which are the most potent. Or in other words, just by performing them very little, immediately we can start feeling very strong taste for Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness can become very sweet by doing even a little bit these 5. So which are these 5?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji is reciting in Mathura.
Correct.
Or worshipping the deity of the Lord.
Yes.
Reciting Srimad-Bhagavatam.
Yes. Reading.
Serving a devotee and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra.
Correct. Thank you very much, Damodar Gopal Prabhu. Yes. These are the 5 most potent. They'll be described in the next chapter separately, just so that Rupa Goswami gives lots of stress and show that they are very, very important. But now we will see already they'll be mentioned one time. So chapter 12, hearing the revealed scriptures. Okay, let's have some reading here. Deva Damodar can come closer and read so that others can. Huh? Yeah, maybe just come closer so that devotees they can hear. Or you can use your powerful voice. Very.
Which one?
First Anga from 12th chapter. Hearing the revealed scriptures.
According to Sri Rupa Goswami, any book that gives enlightenment in the matter of advancing in devotional service is considered to be revealed scripture. Srila Madhvacharya has also defined revealed scriptures as referring to books such as Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, Upanishads, and Granthas, and any other literature written in pursuance of such revealed scriptures. In the Skanda Purana, there is the statement: a person who is constantly engaged in reading literature, enunciating the cultivation of Vaishnava devotional service is always glorious in human society. And certainly Lord Krishna becomes pleased with him. A person who very carefully keeps such literature at home and offers respectful basis to becomes free from all sinful reactions and ultimately becomes worshipable by the demigods. It is also said to Narada Muni, my dear Narada, a person who writes Vaishnava literature and keeps such literature at home has Lord Narayana always residing in his house. In Srimad-Bhagavatam 12th canto 13th chapter verse 15 it is stated, Srimad-Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. Any person who has become attached in some way or other to the reading of Srimad-Bhagavatam does not have any taste for reading any other literature. In other words, a person who has relished the transcendental bliss of Srimad-Bhagavatam cannot be satisfied with mundane happiness.
Dear devotees, can you hear?
Yes, Prabhuji, but it's broken.
Yes, because we had some.
They're coming very low, Prabhuji.
Now it's okay or no?
Now it's okay.
I hear you properly, very nicely.
Okay. Yeah, we had some problem with the internet, but now looks like everything is fine. Okay, so anyway, we read Deva Damodar Prabhu was reading the first Anga, hearing the revealed scriptures. I just wanted to read one of those things. Again, the 3rd paragraph. It is also said to Narada Muni, my dear Narada, a person who writes Vaishnava literature and keeps such literature at home has Lord Narayan always residing in his house. So just by keeping such a literature in our house, describing the glories of Krishna, that's already so auspicious thing. What to speak of reading it, and what to speak of reading it so that others can hear. That means giving this mercy to others, preaching. This is even more glorious. So we should try to sanctify our place, our house by regularly reading Srimad-Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or other Vedic literatures like Ramayana, Mahabharata. As we heard Srila Madhva Acharya defined, his definition for revealed scriptures is, he is referring to the books as Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literature written in pursuance of such revealed scriptures. So if we can make arrangements so that we can read these transcendental literatures regularly in our home, this will definitely spiritualize the whole atmosphere. And if we make the endeavor to invite other people so that they can hear this reading in our home, this will be even more beneficial, even greater opportunity. Residing in Mathura. Okay, let's give to Pandava to read.
In the Barak Purana, there is a statement praising the residential quarters of Mathura. Lord Barak tells the man on earth, any person who becomes attracted to the places other than Mathura will certainly be captivated by the illusory energy. So don't become attracted to New York. Okay, it's not Mathura. In the Brahmanda Purana, it is said that all the results of traveling on all the pilgrimages within the three worlds can be achieved simply by touching the holy land of Mathura. In many Shastras, scriptures, it is said that simply by hearing, remembering, glorifying, desiring, seeing, or touching the land of Mathura, one can achieve all desires.
Haribo. Mathura Mandalaki Jai. Of course, Mathura means Vrindavan, and Mathura and Vrindavan means Mayapur because they are not different. So all these holy places, if someone is attached to them, if someone resides in these places, this is the perfection of life. And if we cannot do it physically, at least mentally, we should always think about these places and try to mentally reside there also. Rendering service to devotees. In the Padma Purana, there is a nice statement praising the service of Vaishnavas or devotees. In that scripture, Lord Shiva tells Parvati, my dear Parvati, there are different methods of worship, and out of all such methods, the worship of the Supreme Person is considered to be the highest. But even higher than the worship of the Lord is the worship of the Lord's devotees. Someone knows this verse? Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. Yes, Lord Shiva is explaining to Parvati Devi that of all kinds of worship, the worship of Krishna is the highest, but the worship of the devotees of Krishna is even higher than this. A similar statement is in the 3rd canto, 7th chapter, verse 19 of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Let me become a sincere servant of the devotees, because by serving them, one can achieve unalloyed devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord. The service of devotees diminishes all miserable material conditions and develops within one a deep devotional love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Adi Purana, there is the following statement by Lord Krishna himself, addressed to Arjuna. My dear Partha, one who claims to be my devotee is not so. Only a person who claims to be devotee of my devotee is actually my devotee. No one can approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. One must approach him through his pure devotees. Therefore, in the system of Vaishnava activities, the first duty is to accept the devotee as spiritual master and then to render service unto him. So, we are going to speak later about these 5 most potent angas of bhakti, but now we can mention that out of those 5, actually Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, chanting of the holy names of Krishna, is the process for this age, for spiritual advancement. But practically we are seeing that for our spiritual advancement, even more important than this, the association with the devotees. Because our enthusiasm to chant Hare Krishna is coming through the association of devotees. We started to chant Hare Krishna because of the association with devotees. We are continuing to chanting Hare Krishna because we associate with devotees. And practically our experience is showing that the moment we stop associating with the devotees, most probably we will decrease our chanting and maybe even stop chanting Hare Krishna. So if we associate with the devotees properly, lots of enthusiasm will come there and we will make rapid spiritual advancement. And if we don't associate enough with the devotees, then it will be difficult. Our enthusiasm will be lacking. Now, what's happening with people who associate equally with devotees and non-devotees? We were mentioning this one of the previous times. Do you remember? They are staying on one place, yes. So we will keep our whatever spiritual taste we have, whatever spiritual level of practice we have, we will kind of keep it, but it will be difficult for us to make a rapid spiritual advancement. Why? Because at the same time we are pulled in 2 directions. Association with devotees is making us very eager for spiritual advancement, but the association with non-devotees is increasing our material desires, material attachments. So there will be constant fight between these 2. So we will be kind of being tilted one direction or the other. At some point go in one side and then next moment go into the other side.
But Prabhuji, we still associate with non-devotee, not like Krishna consciousness for different reasons. From that point, we should leave that association at all, just for progress.
Yeah, I remember a previous time when I said this, you also asked me the same question.
Oh.
I said, I will repeat again, but I can add something more also. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that we can associate with these devotees when it's a matter of duty. Because like you yourself, you have to go and make some money and you have to speak with your boss, with your colleagues, this, that. We have to go buy some things from the shop, so we have to speak with some people. But we don't invest our emotions in this relationship.
Okay.
We just do it as a matter of duty. Yes, I have to speak with my boss. I have to have good relationship with him. I have to be obedient because he's my boss. But we don't, our emotions, intimate emotions, our intimate interactions, we keep this for the devotees. We'll get together with devotees. We will review our mind. We will share our difficulties in life, material or spiritual. We will do this with the devotees. With the non-devotees, we will just keep nice relationship.
Yeah. Thank you. It refreshes.
I have one question too.
Yes.
Yeah, what about our friends? What about our families, like our immediate families who are not devotees? Like sometimes it's really very hard that we have to do some duties for them, and we cannot avoid it. So what should we do at that situation?
Yeah, again, if we can same, it will be helpful. Means because we have some relationship with them, because we have some duty towards them, we have to do this duty. Let's say we have old parents and we have to take care of them. Yes, we'll take care of them because they took care of us. We are duty bound to do so. But again, our heart will keep it, will try to we'll try to share what is in the depths of our heart with the devotees, with the close devotees with which we have a good relationships. And of course, some things we can share with our parents because we have relationship with them. But what is the idea? What is the, how to say, what is the principle behind this? The principle is that if you closely associate with non-devotees, you take on their desires. Their desires then enter your heart. Let's say if you associate with someone very closely day after day, and let's say he has lots of money, it won't be surprising if you suddenly this desire for having lots of money appears in your heart. Otherwise, generally, devotee, he does not, he's not greedy. He's not really putting huge endeavors to make lots of money, because generally the lifestyle of devotee is simple. What the devotee needs? Well, I need a car, I need a house, and I need some money to eat something, and that's it. Now, if we associate with people who have lots of money, then we start comparing ourselves with them. And we are saying, oh, just see how much people did for that, this and this amount of time. And me, I'm much behind. I have to push much stronger in this direction. But then even if we push stronger, even if we make 2 times, 3 times, 5 times more money, what we are going to do with this money after that? Cannot take them with us.
We can donate Prabhuji to make new temples and preaching.
We can do that, yes. If we want to do that for Krishna, that is fine. Then we can make lots of money. But not everybody makes money to build temple for Krishna. That's my point. Many people, they make money because, oh, I want to leave so many crores for my son and so many crores for my daughter and so many crores for my grandson and so many crores for my granddaughter. Yes, something we have to live. This is our duty as parents. But I mean, if we take very seriously the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, already Krishna took care of them. According to their karma, as much money as they are predestined to have, they will come in their pocket. We shouldn't worry about this. And if they don't have karma to have lots of money, even if we make lots of money and give to them, they'll lose them very fast, one way or the other. So we should have faith in Krishna that everything is according to the karma. Whatever is predestined, everybody will get it. So we do our duty a little bit, but we should not go too much into the illusion that everything depends on our endeavors. If I don't work hard, I will not leave anything behind me. And if I work very hard, I will leave so much after me. Well, it's not sure. So many people are working so hard and they don't have much. Or some people worked very hard and at the end of, out of so much work, they damage their health so badly that after that they cannot, neither they can enjoy their money, and they have to give all the hard-earned money just for their treatment. So this is also a little bit another extreme.
Regarding the parents, I think your question is whether if they are materialistic parents, then what to do. Well, in Bhagavad Gita, relatives also, general category. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that one should not, that extensive attachment to the family members is one should not be actually attached to family members.
Overly attached.
Overly attached. So Prabhupada in the purport, he says that they are natural objects of attachment, but this attachment shouldn't be excessive. And what is excessive attachment? Well, in the case when the relatives are non-devotees, this would mean that we will become slackened in our sadhana because of material attachment to them. We'll, instead of us influencing them, they will influence us. And this will be bad for both parties. This will be bad for us, bad for them. Because if we become serious in Krishna consciousness, they'll be benefited, no matter what they do. But if we become slackened in our practice because of false attachment to them, then neither we nor they will be benefited. They will drag us down And it's quite possible that all of us will go to hell. Quite possible in Kali Yuga. But if we are serious and sober, and we practice seriously and keep our heart, as Tulsi will explain, keep our heart for Krishna and for the devotees, and just do our duties to them, then they'll be benefited because of us.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have one memory since I was a little boy, but I heard one Goswami in our area. He was very famous, and slowly by slowly he had a disciple, very rich. So first of all, he gave the Gosai one horse to ride, very big horse, and spend very good amount of money. Slowly by slowly, what happened? One day we heard, which is could be a prajalpo, but is a learning also. And then one day we heard his daughter is go away with this Gosai, with the horse. So he makes the Gosai, the Goswami, he attached too much with like rich disciple, and from that his material desires come so badly, and finally he broke his brahmachari life, and he kidnapped disciple's daughter. So the things happen, too much association with the materialistic. This is one good example I remember now.
Prabhu, you want to say that there was a Rakshasa marriage, yes?
No, okay, yeah. That's
Gandharva. It's Gandharva.
Gandharva.
okay, that is another one, right?
Yes, it's true. And also in Bhagavatam, it is said in few places that, as Pandava Prabhu was saying, if we are practicing seriously Krishna consciousness, our relatives, direct relatives, they will be benefited even if they are non-devotees. And in one place, Prahlad Maharaj is saying 7 generations will be benefited. In other places, it is said 100 generations will be benefited. So if we are serious in Krishna consciousness, actually this is the best way to help our relatives. But
yeah,
just maybe to say, but just from the perspective of practical dealings, yes, we are not fanatics. We will have some relationship, especially with our close relatives, like especially mother, father, brothers, even if they are non-devotees. But we'll just keep some nice relationship with them. But again, we have to be vigilant, not to go too far.
Yeah, because in Bhagavatam, also in the story of Bharata Maharaj, there's a description how you develop attachment. He developed attachment to an animal. How this happened? By eating together, by sleeping together, by walking together, by sitting together, by spending time. That's how he became attached to this animal, and he had to become an animal. So it's science, and we shouldn't be sentimental about it. At the same time, we should be also careful not to hurt people's feelings, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajit yam te kalevaram tam tam evaiti kantya sadadat bhavi bhavita. This is why Krishna explains the science in Gita and Bhagavatam. Okay, so let me read.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I really like this quote from Adi Purana, where Krishna is saying personally to Arjuna, my dear Partha, one who claims to be my devotee is not so. Only a person who claims to be devotee of my devotee is actually my devotee. I very much like this quote. So shows actually that our real devotion is shown by how much we are dedicated to the service of our spiritual master and to other devotees, other Vaishnavas. This is the right mood of a devotee. So,
okay. Serving the Lord according to one's position. In the Padma Purana, there is a statement that one should perform the ceremonies for the Lord according to one's financial position. Everyone should observe the different ceremonies and celebrations of the Lord by all means. That means if we have wealth, we should worship the Lord according to our income. If we have more facilities, we should worship the more with the Lord with opulence. Now that we have very sophisticated lifestyle and we have money, but when we worship the Lord, we call Patram Pushpam Palam Toham Yama Bhakta Prayachati Tadahamam Pahitam Astami Pratatman. And this is our excuse. Oh, Krishna, he accepts just the love and devotion. You can offer him leaf, flower, water, fruit, and that's what we offer. So that's what it means.
Everybody should. Yes, Mataji, you can ask your question. Just I want to say that everybody should perform one way or the other the different festivals connected with Krishna. This is part of our Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. So when there is a festival, we have to celebrate it. Now we may celebrate it at home, we may go to the temple, we can make some special preaching program, one way or the other according to our financial situation. But the duty of the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is that he has to celebrate the different festivals in connection with Krishna. Yes, Mataji Pushpanjali.
Yes, Dandavat Pranams. I have a question. Should it be I guess we have to work on this. It's not something, the question is it something that eventually it'll become spontaneous, that we don't have to give, like right now we have to give thought to what we're doing, but eventually it'll become spontaneous, something that we don't think of, but we automatically are doing it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Which one, the devotional service or?
Yeah, in terms of, okay, like when you mentioned, going back a little bit about the servant, serving the servant of the servant. The servant, yes. We don't think about, okay, this is the servant of the servant. We just serve. Is it something that we do should ultimately be doing spontaneously without giving thought to, okay, this is the servant of the servant? I don't know if the question is making sense.
In the beginning, it may take some time to become spontaneous.
Spontaneous, okay.
Yes,
okay.
Gradually should become, we should start liking it. Now we theoretically understand, okay, in order to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, I have to go regularly to the temple. I have to see the devotees. I have to try to serve them. But sometimes we don't want to do it. But intellectually we understand, and okay, no, I have to do it because I'm a devotee. But then gradually we should develop a taste, desire to do it. So we don't go by obligation to the temple, but rather we go because we like to go. We like to take part in the kirtan. We like to share interesting things with the devotees. We start liking all these things. Of course, it takes a little bit time, but if we are following the process, gradually this will come.
Will come. Okay.
Question of years, and this should come. Certain things in Krishna consciousness will start becoming very likable. We'll start liking them very much.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for that. Okay. All right.
We go to the next Anga. Kartik.
Performing devotional service in Kartik. One of the most important of these ceremonial functions is called Ujravrata. Ujravrata is observed in the month of Kartik, October, November, especially in Vrindavan. There is a specific program for temple worship of the Lord in his Damodara form. Damodara refers to Krishna as being bound with rope by his mother, Yashoda. It is said that just as Lord Damodara is very dear to his devotees, so the month known as Damodara or Kartik is also very dear to them. The execution of devotional service during Ujravrata in the month of Kartik is especially recommended to be performed at Mathura. This system is still followed by many devotees. They go to Mathura or Vrindavan and stay there during the month of Kartik, specifically to perform devotional services during this period. In the Padma Purana, it is said, the Lord may offer liberation or material happiness to a devotee. But after some devotional service has been executed, particularly in Mathura during the month of Kartik, the devotee wants only to attain pure devotional service unto the Lord. In other words, the service during this month of Kartik is so potent that it has the power to, well, of course, every type of devotional service is so potent, but especially this one, that it has the power to change our desires, which is a very difficult thing. I mean, if you think about it, because people, Bhagavad Gita also talks about control of the mind, but the mind actually cannot be controlled by force. The mind is energy of the Lord Aniruddha, and is not in our power to control the mind, because the mind is controlled by something which is more subtle than the mind, and this is the desire. And the only way to attain perfection is to purify the desire. So how do you purify desire? Here's the way: by performing devotional service, and especially during Kartik month in Mathura. So that's the way. In this way, we will purify our desires, which is the greatest blessing. Imagine you have only pure desires. Then no problem anymore.
A Krishna consciousness will be so easy.
Okay. I want to read maybe. Okay. Anyway. The purport is that the Lord does not award devotional service to ordinary persons who are not serious about it. But even such unserious persons who execute devotional service according to the regulative principles during the month of Kartik and within the jurisdiction of Mathura in India are very easily awarded the Lord's personal service. Okay. Observing festivals celebrating the Lord's activities. In the Bhavishya Purana, there is a statement about observing different ceremonies celebrating the Lord's appearance, birthday, and other transcendental activities. It is said, "May Lord Janardana Keshava please let us know the date when your mother Devaki Devi gave birth to you." So again, they follow this old famous analogy that you ask your mother, she's the authority. She knows things that you may not know, like who is your father, for example, or when are you born? You don't know. So even in Krishna's pastimes, they follow this. If you kindly inform us about this, then we shall observe a great celebration on this day. O killer of Keshi, we are souls 100% surrendered to your lotus feet, and we wish only to please you with our ceremonies. This statement of the Bhavishya Purana gives evidence that by observing different functions in relationship with the Lord, one is sure to become pleasing to the Lord. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Madhavatiti Bhakti Janati. This type of celebrations of the birthday of Krishna, they are the mother of devotion. Again, we don't have devotion, we don't have love, we don't have pure desires. That's the way to acquire all these qualifications. Because anyway, and nobody can say, but I don't have desire to serve. No, you are servant by nature. You have desire to serve. You just want to serve yourself, your senses. So we have to make this little endeavor to start serving Krishna, the pure devotees. The same is in Bhagavatam. By service, by serving the great devotees, the great service is done. This is what Bhagavatam says. By this service, one can attain taste to listen the messages of Vasudeva. Okay?
I just want to mention something shortly. So the first anga Just to check out. No, sorry, it's not the first. The third anga in this chapter is serving the Lord according to one's position. So we said that we have to celebrate the different festivals in relation to Krishna. This is applicable to the festivals related to Krishna and also to all festivals in the Vaishnava tradition, like for example, appearance days of great acharyas, gurus, like we are celebrating the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, of his spiritual master, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Gorakshar Das Babaji Maharaj, and so on and so on. So now the anga that we just read, Damodar Maharaj is explaining that it's applicable directly to Janmashtami, to especially birthday of Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one anga is telling us we have to celebrate all the festivals. This is one duty of the Vaishnavas. One way or the other, at home or in the temple, we should celebrate each and every festival. And then other anga is specifically dedicated, he's saying specifically we have to honor the day of appearance of Krishna. So during this time we have to, as Pandava Prabhu read, we have to make a special festival, special celebration.
Or if we're not involved in organizing the special festival, at least we have to attend the festival. Imagine you have a very dear friend, and he has a birthday, and you don't even show up.
Yes.
You don't do like this. And if you're a little bit more advanced, then when there is a special festival, when there is birthday of your friend, then if you're closer to him, then you actually help in organizing the festival. Who is helping for the birthday festival? The closest friends. And who is cleaning up after the festival? Also the closest friend. All the guests, the general guests, they leave. And then who stays to clean the house? So these are the closest friends. So you can use this as a, what's the word? It's a solace when after Janmashtami you have to clean the kitchen.
At 2:30 at night.
So think about this. Who is staying to help after the
We'll come late to stay up to 2:30. This I will remember.
Next, serving the deity with great devotion. It is said in the Adi Purana, the person who is constantly engaged in chanting the holy name and who feels transcendental pleasure, being engaged in devotional service, is certainly awarded the facilities of devotional service and is never given just mukti, liberation. Mukti means liberation from material contamination. When liberated, one does not have to take birth again in the material world. The impersonalists desire to merge into the spiritual existence to end their individual existence. But according to Srimad-Bhagavatam, mukti is only the beginning of one's becoming situated in his normal condition. The normal condition of every living entity is to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. From the statement of the Adi Purana, it appears that a devotee is satisfied simply with being engaged in devotional service. He does not aspire for any liberation from material condition of life. In other words, anyone who is engaged in devotional service is not in the material condition of life, although he may appear so.
So practically that means the moment we are engaged in the service of the deities, we are engaged in our original constitutional spiritual position. This is what we are going to do in the spiritual world, worshipping Krishna. Just there it won't be a deity, it will be Krishna himself. But we will do the same things. That's why I heard a few times on a lecture, Jan Yuvas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu to say that the pujaris of Krishna, they go directly to the spiritual world. Why? Because they were already trained what to do in the spiritual world. They know. When they see Krishna in the spiritual world, they know, oh, now I have to worship him like this, like this, like this. I have to offer prayers. I have to do this. I have to do that. And then the rest of the devotees, first, they have to go to a place where they are going to be trained how to deal with Krishna directly. and then they can go to the spiritual world.
Which place is
So-
also spiritual world, but it is
Spiritual world in the material world.
Yeah.
So this is what Janivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu said few times on the lectures in Mayapur. So if we become a good pujaris, easy to go to the spiritual world. Of course, if we worship the deities of Krishna in the form of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam, also we are qualified to go directly back to the spiritual world. So we have to worship this, one of those deities, deity on the altar or deity in the library. We have to become pujaris one way or the other. Recitation of Srimad-Bhagavatam amongst devotees. So before that we had hearing of the revealed scriptures. Now we have a special Anga recitation of Srimad-Bhagavatam amongst devotees. By the way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu often he was repeating that in order to understand Srimad-Bhagavatam, you have to hear it from Vaishnavas, otherwise you won't be able to understand. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the desired tree of Vedic wisdom. Veda itself means the aggregate of knowledge, and whatever knowledge is required for human society is perfectly presented in Srimad-Bhagavatam. There are different branches of knowledge in the Vedic writings, including sociology, politics, medicine, and military art. All these and other branches of knowledge are perfectly described in the Vedas. So, as far as spiritual knowledge is concerned, that is also perfectly described there, and Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the ripened fruit of this desire-fulfilling tree of the Vedas. A tree is honored by the production of its fruit. For example, a mango tree is considered very valuable because it produces the kind of all fruits, the mango. When the mango fruit becomes ripened, it is the greatest gift of that tree. And Srimad Bhagavatam is similarly held to be the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree. And as ripened fruit becomes more relishable when first touched by the beak of a parrot or shuka, Srimad Bhagavatam has become more relishable by being delivered through the transcendental mouth of Shukadeva Goswami. Srimad Bhagavatam should be received in disciplic succession without any breakage. When a ripened fruit comes from the upper parts of the tree onto the ground by the process of being handed down from a higher branch to a lower branch by persons in the tree, the fruit does not break. Srimad Bhagavatam, when received in the parampara system or disciplic succession, will likewise remain unbroken. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that the disciplic succession or parampara is the way of receiving transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge must come down through the disciplic succession, through authorized persons who know the real purpose of the Shastra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended that one learn Srimad Bhagavatam from the mouth of a self-realized person called Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam means relationship with the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. So the devotee is sometimes called Bhagavatam, and the book which is in relation with the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also called Bhagavatam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended that in order to relish the real taste of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should take instructions from the person Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is relishable even by liberated persons. Shukadeva Goswami admitted that although he was liberated from within the very womb of his mother, it was only after relishing Srimad Bhagavatam that he became a great devotee. Thus, one who is serious of advancing in Krishna consciousness should relish the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam through the discussions of authorized devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam takes very special place in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Every Sampradaya has a specific book, their main book. Like for example, do you know which is the book of the Madhva Sampradaya? Have you heard? Mahabharata, correct. And which is the book of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas?
Bhagavatam, Srimad-Bhagavatam.
Bhagavatam, correct. So Bhagavatam have a very special place in the life of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. We can read Bhagavad Gita, and it's good to read Bhagavad Gita. We can read Bhagavad Gita every day. But Bhagavad Gita, it's more like, as one time one learned devotee from Mayapur said, Vidvan Gauranga Prabhu, Bhagavad Gita is meant to make the non-devotees devotees. Now, Bhagavatam is meant to make the devotees pure devotees. So by reading regularly Srimad-Bhagavatam, trying to get the essence of the knowledge of Bhagavatam, it is supposed that our motivations will become so much purified that we will become pure devotees of Krishna. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita is even higher level. It is said that Chaitanya Charitamrita is meant to make the pure devotees pure, unalloyed devotees. Nothing else except Krishna Bhakti. Nothing else.
So, Prabhuji, in that point, we can't judge ourselves. I cannot judge myself. What is my position?
Mm-hmm.
But to this point where I am right now, Gurudev giving mercy.
Mm-hmm.
I had the position before also where I didn't get even mercy from Gurudev. So that position and this position now. So I might study Bhagavad Gita maybe 15, 20 times already.
Okay.
So for daily study, should I prioritize Bhagavatam first?
Generally,
yeah.
And generally, yes. After being a devotee for such a long time and read Bhagavad Gita so many times, generally, yes. But of course, Bhagavad Gita is non-different from Srimad-Bhagavatam. And of course, we can ask our personal guru and let's see what he is going to say on this. But
okay.
Yeah, generally with our advancement in Krishna consciousness, we should try to go more and more into depth of Srimad-Bhagavatam, because there we can get all the information that we need for our safe advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, good things also. Srimad-Bhagavatam, I'm studying, beside the other Bhagavad Gita, also studying every day.
Mm-hmm.
So if I sometimes, short of time, if I more emphasize on Bhagavatam, I can study rapidly because I'm still sitting on maybe first canto or second canto. If I speed up, I can do it. I don't know, 12 canto in my lifetime, I can finish it. So it's not anything, any discrimination or anything, but to go more advancement, maybe emphasize on Bhagavatam is the better for now.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So till the end of the chapter, we have 3 more angas. We will read only one of them because the other 2, they are already coming second time. Associating with advanced devotees, we already read this one. And also living in Mathura also came. We also read it. So now we are going to read only the chanting the holy name of the Lord. The importance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram, Hare Hare.
Is very strongly stressed in the second canto, first chapter, verse 11 of Srimad-Bhagavatam in the following way. Shukadeva Goswami tells Maharaja Parikshit, my dear king, if one is spontaneously attached to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, it is to be understood that he has attained the highest perfectional stage. It is specifically mentioned that the karmis who are aspiring after the fruitive results of their activities, the salvationists who are aspiring to become one with the Supreme Person, and the yogis who are aspiring after mystic perfection can achieve the results of all perfectional stages simply by chanting the Maha Mantra. Shukadeva uses the word nirnitam, which means it has already been decided. So, yes. So basically that means Shukadeva Goswami is saying, it's already established fact. No need for me to prove it. I'm just saying it. That making Sankirtan or repeating the holy names of Krishna is the best way to achieve everything in this world. He was a liberated soul and therefore could not accept anything which was not conclusive. So Shukadeva Goswami especially stressed that it has already been concluded that one who has come to the stage of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra with determination and steadiness must be considered to have already passed the trials of fruitive activities, mental speculation, and mystic yoga. The same thing is confirmed in Adi Purana by Krishna. While addressing Arjuna, he says, anyone who is engaged in chanting my transcendental name must be considered to be always associating with me. And I may tell you frankly that for such a devotee, I become easily purchased. In the Padma Purana also it is stated, the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is present only on the lip of a person who has for many births worshipped Vasudeva. It is further said in Padma Purana, there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. As such, the holy name is as perfect as the Lord himself in fullness, purity, and eternity. The holy name is not a material sound vibration, nor has it any material contamination. The holy name cannot therefore be chanted offenselessly by one who has failed to purify his senses. In other words, materialistic senses cannot properly chant the holy name of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But by adopting this chanting process, one is given a chance to actually purify himself so that he may very soon chant offenselessly. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended that everyone chant the Hare Krishna mantra just to cleanse the dust from the heart. If the dust of the heart is cleansed away, then one can actually understand the importance of the holy name. For persons who are not inclined to clean the dust from their hearts and who want to keep things as they are, it is not possible to derive the transcendental result of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One should therefore be encouraged to develop his service attitude toward the Lord, because this will help him to chant without any offense. And so, under the guidance of a spiritual master, the disciple is trained to render service and at the same time chant the Hare Krishna mantra. As soon as one develops his spontaneous service attitude, he can immediately understand the transcendental nature of the holy name of the Mahamantra. So we have to chant Hare Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada here at the end is saying that it's very important to combine this chanting of Hare Krishna with the proper service attitude. As soon as one develops the spontaneous service attitude, he can immediately understand the transcendental nature of the holy names of the Mahamantra. So if we are chanting but we don't have the right mood, it will take longer. And if we have the right mood but we are not chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, again it will take a long time. I have to say something important. Just wait a minute. So, yes, the idea is that this is, as we said, this is the most important thing in the process. And if we are not chanting Hare Krishna attentively, our spiritual advancement will be very much delayed. That's why we have to give very much importance to chanting Hare Krishna. We took darshan with Devamrita Maharaj, Gita Nagari, and at the end we asked him, Maharaj, give us one advice. What's the most important thing in spiritual life? He said, chant with attention. Chant attentively Hare Krishna. So I guess that's very, very important. Okay, dear devotees, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Now I will stop the record. I want to tell you something for 2 minutes. Please
Hare Krishna.
stay online. Shri Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki,
Jai.
Gaura Premananda.